This will be a good one.
It'll be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stolen base, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness. Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. The winter meetings are off and running. We're going to be out with our winter workout tour. Make sure you check us out. We're going to be in Springfield, Columbia, Kansas City, Nashville, Tennessee. Always like to go down to Nashville.
I bet.
It's fun. It's great. We're going to go in and check in on some of the places where we went last year, and we're going to go visit a new club down there, U.S. Scout. They're dropping in this gentleman, Kelly Mort, that we met. So it's going to be interesting, something new down in Nashville. If you're able to, if you're in these areas, Springfield, Columbia, Nashville, you want to see what's going on with Game 7 Baseball, we will have meet and greets on those Fridays. You can go to the website. We'll have all the dates there for it on youthbaseballmidwest.com. Love the start of the season. It's just around the corner.
You bet.
I mean, goodness, it's Thanksgiving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Game7baseball.com. Go get your tournaments. Also, Super 7 series, we got those announced. Those are up as well. We talked about that on the show with Dave Penning on Wednesday. Make sure you go check out those tournaments. We got the 14U Invitational coming up this year. Looking forward to it. A lot of stuff going on. But today, welcome back. We haven't seen Coach Perkins in quite some time on the show. Glad to have you back.
Good to be back.
Absolutely. And as always, the guru himself, Mr. Kevin Mulder. How we doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Good to be talking baseball this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Need that baseball fix.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we just, I want to get your take. We haven't seen, what'd you think of the World Series?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't really rooting for anybody. It was a great World Series. I mean, the Yankees just had a little problem there, but, you got to love Freddie Freeman after that.
Right.
I mean, they're both two great teams, and, yeah, it was really enjoyable to watch. I got to watch every game. That was pretty fun for me.
There you go. See, I like that perspective when you're not, it's not a rooting situation. You're just watching for the love of the game, right?
Right.
Yeah. Me, on the other hand, it was biting nails there for a little while.
Guy, I forgot.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I hate anything. And it's tough with the young teams, Coach, because I'm not a pinstripe guy. Don't put pinstripes on. It just wrecks the whole thing. And I know you got pinstripes.
I don't like them, but kids like them. So
yeah.
I'm with you. I don't like pinstripes either.
Here we go.
Oh, mercy. So, anyway, there you go. But we're going to talk a little bit today. Start off with, you guys got in January coming up. And I don't know how many people really know that it's out there. I don't know if your numbers are growing, but the Missouri High School Coaches Baseball Association? Yeah, it's a mouthful.
MHSBCA. Yeah, it's a big deal. We're excited about it. We've got a new venue. We've got out of Jeff City. We're going down to the resort at the Lake of the Ozarks. And we got new leadership. Bill Seaman is retired again. And so now we got Brian Harmon, who's a coach at Crane High School, who's done a great job. Him and his wife are really involved. So, our numbers are growing. It's just been crazy. We've got some people that are into the social media aspect of it. They just started something a couple weeks ago. It's MHSBCA Brain Trust. So head coaches throughout the state are chiming in there and getting in there and giving their ideas and sharing ideas with other coaches throughout the state. You got Class 1 teams, you got Class 6 teams, and going through that, and that's just, same thing as you're doing is just helping other people and helping kids and helping coaches and that kind of thing. I kind of help on speakers. We got a great lineup. We got a couple of coaches from Missouri State. Joey Hawkins is going to come in. Mizzou's coming in. Jabari Brown's going to be working, and their catching coaches coming in. I mean, and what we try and do, we try and tap the state championship coaches. That's kind of a caveat there. If you win state, you got to go speak at the clinic. You got to do something right. and try and get them to share. A lot of guys don't like doing that, but we got 3 or 4. We got Hollander from Duchenne's coming in. And he's talking about his huddle thing, and huddles themselves are coming in and helping, kind of tell all the coaches how that works and what they do for them. We got Tim Gillicuddy from Blue Springs speaking. I mean, got him in. I'm trying to think who else we had. We got a bunch of really good speakers though. I enjoy that so much. I mean, it's an avenue for coaches to learn. It's an avenue for coaches to network. Get along with people. I mean, I learn more just hanging out in the hallway talking and we just, what do you do here in this situation? Or how do you do this? Or how do you, I always get the bunting question, so I got to give bunting clinics in the hallway quite a bit, but that's the way it goes. But yeah, it's the exciting thing. Our numbers are way up. We're going to, I bet I would venture to say we'll get 350-ish. That's my thought. So I'm real excited about it. And of course, I'm excited about it every year.
Yeah. That's good.
You know what? It's like an energy boost just right before the season. It's a great way to kind of just reconnect and get charged up and get ready for the season. So that's a great event, and Coach Perkins has done a great job with that and grown it. And, we've talked about Missouri high school baseball being in probably the best spot it's ever been, and I think this is a big part of it. And it's cool to see so many guys that are at the top of their game, from a high school level, wanting to learn and get better and take that knowledge back to their team and their players.
Yeah, it was pretty. A long time ago, Coach Terry Casper, he got me going to clinics, and I've been going since. But when I used to go to the clinics, you'd get all the guys from Kansas City and Columbia and those kinds of places. It wasn't too many St. Louis people, so I really started getting involved. I was vice president, and blah blah blah, whatever. My goal was to get more St. Louis and Kansas City really didn't get along back in the day. I can honestly say that. But now I think, I have great friends in Kansas City, with Ben Bear and everybody else down there, Jay Meyer and all those kinds of guys. But, I think it's gotten so much better. Now you get St. Louis guys coming, and that's cool. Because there's a lot of coaches here, man, and you got guys that think they know it all. They're not going to be any good anyway. You're going to come and try and get better, and that's what the whole goal is for that.
When you got when Lake of the Ozarks moving it from Jeff City, are you trying to get some of those from the southwest side there coming up a little bit more, Coach?
No, that was more of a venue thing. Where we're at in Jeff City, it was kind of going downhill, and then you got to get the right place that can host as many guys as we got, and then you got your comp rooms, you got dinners, you got socials, you got what are you going to give us,
right,
compared to other ones. Like there was a couple places that we looked into and they couldn't handle 300 coaches, on a weekend. And they weren't prepared to do that.
Sure.
This place welcomed us and really the guys went down there and checked it out, and they really wanted us to come, and I'm excited about it because we've been in Jeff City for, about 20 plus years, I would say.
Yeah.
So it was time to get out of there. We will always try to keep it in the middle of the state again, trying to get people to be able to, travel. Some people drive more and some people don't, but that's just the way it goes. But the lake was an attractive place, and I think we'll get more people just because it is closer to the lake, because people like to go out and mess around at the lake.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love that thought process. When it works well too is when you have somebody on the other side that wants to be part of that. The venue says, yeah, heck, come on in. We'll do this and this and this. It makes everything run smoother.
Yeah.
Gives a better feel to things as whatnot. And I'm looking forward to it. I've been down there the last couple of years. We're coming back down, bringing the Mo Legion guys with us. I like that.
Cool.
So
yeah, I'm the vendor guy too, so I get to get those guys come in too.
Exactly.
I
So
just like giving away stuff.
We're looking forward to it. It gives us an opportunity, especially because, it's the last couple of years I've met some new coaches, been able to, connect with them, and it's helped us grow on that side in parts of the state that we didn't know. I met Coach Ash from Southern Boone there.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah, and we were there last year, went to Southern Boone and live streamed a game with them. It's just one of those things where it's an opportunity where you get to see all these coaches and some of these small schools that never heard of.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say at that brain trust thing we got going. I mean, there's coaches that come in and how they do things and what they're able to do, totally different from what big schools are.
Right.
But all these guys, it's amazing how many guys come up to me at the clinic and start bending my ear, and they're from small schools, and heck, I'll help everybody, as much as I possibly can, but I've developed relationships like the Midwest Classic. I mean, I developed relationships with these coaches, and then they said, yeah, I'll come, let's go, and just you develop those relationships throughout the state, and it's really awesome, and we tend to just, most of us, we're there to help people. I mean, we're to help each other. We're trying to get better. Everybody's trying to get better, and that's the goal.
It is the goal. When as far as high school is concerned, you always kind of look at your talent level. Kevin, you can speak. When you're talking about a Class 1 school, we've seen it's Orrin, I believe is how it's pronounced. Orrin, Missouri, down there. They're constantly there. I mean, this is a Class 1 school, so you're having to do some different things with the talent, just trying to create some opportunities to put yourself in position to succeed.
The other thing that I think it does, which, I think we're seeing the benefits of that this coming season, it gets guys together to talk about how to improve the game. And, that gets tough with, hey, I'm going to have a call with Coach Perkins, and then Coach Perkins is going to call so-and-so. But when you get all the guys, all the coaches in one spot, we can start getting some headway and share some ideas. And this year with the 5 and the 6A moving to the best of 3, I think that would, the convention certainly helps with that. When you get the minds together, the group together, that can sometimes breed some good thought and discussion.
Yeah, we have reps that attend the MHSBCA stuff, and we've had the MHSBCA guys in as well. And sometimes they don't like coming in. They feel like it's a beehive ready to erupt.
I understand.
We can get them in sometimes, so it works out okay.
Will they be here this year?
No,
not this year.
They're always invited.
Always invited. There you go. Daryl Bradley. There you go. Your invitation. Come on down.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing you there. Just stop by. Say howdy.
That's what they should do.
Yeah, I think so. And I understand these guys, they're doing other sports throughout the year, so sometimes that gets tough. And I think that's the difficulty sometimes with what you see with Misha. Kevin, we've talked about this, is your baseball executive director he's doing 2 other sports, and I think if it's basketball, you're right in the middle of that. And, other winter sports in those respects, wrestling and things of that nature. It gets tough for these guys to kind of put themselves in those positions, right?
Absolutely. And that's why I like to see them coming to an event so they can hear the concerns and the thoughts, and not necessarily, I understand you're walking into a hornet's nest, but it can be done in a constructive way. And that's honestly Coach Perkins' role. He is the chair. He's, got to get these ideas to those guys in a certain manner where they're receptive. And that's a tough job.
Yeah, you're right. They always say it's how you word it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I learned that when I was the rep, and Tim Thompson was in there, who was a baseball guy, head coach of Jeff City. He goes, "Okay, Perk, this is how we have to say it." I'm going,
Right.
okay, I'm not an English guy, but help me out here, buddy. Well, we had Dave Wilson in there who did a fantastic job, and who's doing it now is Brian Ash.
Oh, is it right?
Yeah, he's going to be our rep. So that's totally great people there, man.
Yeah. And you got guys that have a really good understanding of the game in the playoff scenario. They've been in it. Ash has been in it, at many different levels. Now he's with
3 state championships at 3 different levels.
Right. So I think that he's a perfect guy for that, because he's looking at all these different levels.
You understand?
And you have perspective in that respect, right?
Well, that's the key too. I mean, it's not the coaches that vote; it's the
ADs.
principals.
Yeah.
Principals are, but usually the AD tells them what to say, and then
yeah.
blah blah blah. But you got to have the administration vote, which, some, I hate to say it, some administrators don't really like baseball or any sports because they have to come and supervise. That's hours onto their days, and that's my opinion. But you got some great ones out there too.
It just is. It's one of those situations where I think that was something I didn't know about. And when you're looking at a thought process that says, "Hey, we're talking about trying to get this and this and this and this done," and they said, then it goes like, "Well, wait a minute. Does Fort Zumwalt School District have the same mindset as Francis Howell School District or Parkway School District or Rockwood?"
But that comes down to the coach. Again, the coach responsibility. I mean, you need to educate not only the coaches around you, but you need to educate your administration. Mm-hmm. This is what we want. This is what we think that would be better for the game. And we'd like for your support on this when it comes around. It's going to be coming up. You'll know 3 months ahead of time it's going to come. So we would really like to have a vote, and maybe if you can influence other people in the area, because they have their meetings and they work together. If the more votes you can get to get it, the better chance we got to get stuff through. And the original thing comes from the baseball coaches. I mean, we all talk and we say, well, what about this? What about the best 2 out of 3? What about, how we see, da-da-da-da, and all that. It does come from the coaches.
Sure.
But now you got to get it through.
Because then it has to do with money, right?
Yeah. Everything's about money.
It is. I mean, which I know you're Kirkwood guy. What is the Kirkwood School District? Is that
It's the beautiful thing about the Kirkwood School District. It stands alone. It's the Kirkwood School District.
There you go. So it's a party of one.
It's a party of one, which makes it easier to, that can help in some ways. I'm sure there's some benefits to also, dealing, in large numbers, like, for example, the Howell District, which, is probably 5 times the Kirkwood School District when you add up all the schools, maybe 4 times. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's pros and cons to both sides of it.
Yeah. But I think this is something that's interesting when people talk about, these types of issues and why can't they do this? Well, the layers of that is more than what people understand. And I think that's it. Why can't we just turf the field? Well, yeah. I mean, fantastic. Love to do it. I know Kirkwood just did that, didn't they?
They did, and that would be an example where it would probably be a benefit to be one of one. Because if Francis Howell does it, then you have to do every single house school and probably every single softball field, most likely. That's a much different project than doing one baseball. So it's
Howell Central's doing it right now, and they're the only one getting it. In fact, they're even getting lights.
Really?
I heard that.
Now,
I heard they're getting turf. Yeah.
Will other schools automatically follow within a certain time frame, or do you think?
No idea. They haven't approached me about anything. I mean, our place is just, I've wanted lights from day one because there's no neighbors or to complain about it. And we're out there, nobody's around. It'd been perfect setup for lights. But
Yeah.
I don't make those decisions.
Right. And I think that was interesting. I heard that, it didn't pop till you said that, but I heard they were getting turf. And so I
It's
think
all tore up right now.
yeah. So
That's
there
great.
you go.
I'm all in favor of anyone getting facility upgrades, and my stance on this, although I'm sure it gets competitive in school districts and whatnot, it forces everyone to rise their level. And if one school district gets lights or turf, then the surrounding ones are more apt to do it. Is the way I look at it.
Yeah, they say that they got it because they got only 2 fields. We have 3. We have the softball facility, and we have the varsity field, and we have a JV field, which they use for softball practice, and so that's how they justify that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what North's got. I haven't been over there since they got everything.
North
I heard the baseball situation was staying the same, but
Yeah.
I think that was the only thing that stayed, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. North has the softball like you. They have a softball field up top and the baseball's down. And I remember when Justin was still playing, they had just done some improvements concrete wise because that Howell North sits low. And I mean, everything runs into it. And I think that's kind of a tough gig, so that to me is perfect opportunity for turf because it sits down below the softballs up top there, and everything runs kind of into that Howell North field. Yeah, it's a tough one. So, oh man, how'd we go there? We did. That's the way it works. That's baseball talk, right, Coach?
Yeah.
Exactly. And let's shift this gear a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about this since we're talking about the coaches clinic and things of that nature. We're talking about when you're talking to all these different coaches from all these different levels of schools and whatnot. How difficult is it? I asked this question here the other day. We were talking with Dave Wiggins. He's at Webster Groves High School. He does summer stuff as well with younger kids. How difficult is it to manage today maybe than it was, say, 15 years ago? Is it different? What's the differences? Is there nuances? How's it changed?
Oh, it's changed quite a bit. I was going to get ready to go to that part where my situation is different than a Class 1 school or a Class 2 school.
Yeah.
Where I don't have to do training. I hate to say it, but every one of my guys are doing training.
Right.
They're going to their club teams, they're going to the prospects, they're going to the Gators, they're doing whatever group they're with, and it's counterproductive for me to do it because they're working and you don't want them to do too much.
Right.
You can't have them throwing too much. You can't have them lifting too much. You want them to lift, of course, and they all understand that. So my guys are doing that. But if you get into the smaller schools, they might have 1, maybe 2 guys that are traveling, but they might be driving an hour and a half to get to this facility so that they can work out. So the smaller schools have got to do it, and then they got to gear their stuff around basketball, wrestling if they got wrestling, just the time-wise that they have to get. They got to come before school or they got to go in the evening. And we go during a training period, you only get 3 hours a week. So you go twice a week for an hour and a half, and that's what they're doing. And it's different. Every situation is different. Bigger schools do it. People talking about, relationship with kids. I'm a guy that's never ever taught at Francis Howell. And I understand relationships. I try to make a point to talk to as many kids as I possibly can all the time through my camps and then even when I'm buzzing around school. But and other guys are like their first or second years, like I don't know my kids yet, but I'm in the building, so I'm able to see them, but I don't get to see them all, So, and there are other guys say, I couldn't not teach in my building and coach there. Well, I said, I've been coaching over 40 years now. I've never taught there, and we've had success, and I built some awful good relationships, been to a lot of weddings and that kind of stuff.
I would say Coach Perkins has a unique situation for the state, though. There are a handful of schools, I would say, that are in that position where he's got a culture built up where all of the players in his program, you basically have one option. You and it's a credit to the culture he's built. You are committed to baseball, or you're going to have trouble making this ball club. Not that you can't play another sport. Like we all know, you have multi-sport athletes. Brett Northle's a starting tight end. You're the Howell quarterback is going to St. Louis U. So like you can be Matt Shark was a great basketball player. It's not that you don't share the sport, but if you're not all in on baseball and training year round or committed to baseball, you're not going to be good enough to make the Howell baseball team. Most programs, I would say, are not in that situation where you got such an environment where it's so competitive to make your ball club. Even at some of the bigger schools, I would say that they might have a handful of kids that play club baseball, but not literally their entire program. You kind of have the opposite problem, which is I would call Champagne problem. You have to make some really tough decisions around tryout time on some kids that would absolutely make another program's team that play, summer ball, club ball, etc.
Yeah, these smaller schools we're talking about, I mean, they have to develop players. I mean, they got to try and make players out of some guys that
are not
really invested in baseball, just want to be a part of something.
Yep.
So they need to get into those guys. They need to lift those guys. They need to throw those guys. They need to go through reps. Try to make a baseball player out of a guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to do that. They come to me. They're baseball guys.
Right. I think that's a valid point because even some of the class 4, even some of the class 5 schools in the area have to do that because you're maybe getting 50 guys.
I would say some of the class 6 schools have to do it from my observations, or on a yearly basis.
Because it is, I agree, Kevin. It's a unique situation that you see there, and when you're having to, make those types of decisions, then it's a matter of. I like how you put that. It's a champagne.
Yeah, I am spoiled, but it's not easy, man. I mean,
and that's the tough thing,
and
coaches.
When I cut, I have conversations with these guys, and it's hard. I mean, it is so hard because most of these guys have been to my camps when they're 4th grade on, and come through, and I know these kids, and I know that how much they want it, how much they've worked hard for it, but they're just not as good as the rest of them.
And Kevin, when you look at that, you could see some of these kids that may not have made the varsity could be a number 1 on the mound at another school in the area, even in the GAC South.
Certainly a contributor. And that's there's a couple programs in the state that have what Coach Perkins have, and it doesn't happen by accident. It takes years, time, investment, a lot of knowledge, a lot of trust, and that's not something that happens overnight. So, there's a handful of them out there where that exists. And you see them year after year. They don't always win the state championship, but they're always in the mix.
When Kevin, just from your perspective, when you're seeing this over the scope and what Coach said about finding those guys that can be baseball players, when you're out and you see the level of baseball across, how difficult is that as a coach? And what would you say to a coach? That kind of has to move through those things.
Well, in my opinion, I have no greater respect than any type of coach. I think the high school coach has the toughest job, in my opinion. A college coach gets to pick his players. Professional coaches sort of pick their players. The scouts pick them for them or the front office, but they're dealing with guys that are intentionally there. A high school coach, like Coach Perkins said, at certain schools, you might look at go to the football team and say, oh, there's, that kid's a good athlete. He might be able to play some center field for me, or that kid's a good player. And, a lot of the smaller schools will share, that kid, how many times, Coach, you see the kid that's the quarterback, the point guard, and the shortstop. That's a typical thing at a small school, or like, not just those positions, but that
Right.
happens. That's common at the small school, and it can be a challenge. And filling out, you might have 4 real baseball players, and when I say real baseball players, I'm using that in quotation marks, but the kid's really a football player, but he likes baseball, and he could
What
be a
city?
good athlete, and you got to talk that kid into playing first base for you, or being your left fielder, and being a contributor. And that's a challenge, and you got to that's the coach's job, is you got to find a role for that player for him to be successful. Maybe the kid can really run, but he can't hit a lick. Well, Coach Perkins is going to teach that kid how to bunt, how
Yes,
to
he is.
defend,
Yes, he is.
be a courtesy runner, a defensive replacement. Maybe you got a kid that can really hit but can't move at all. Like, there's roles that you're making baseball players. Coach said that a little bit ago. Like that's the job, and you're just trying to piece it together.
Yeah, you know what I do is towards the end of our spring season, I'll sit down with all my juniors and sophomores, and in front of everybody, like all the coaches, all the players are sitting there, and I'll go down the line. What's your plans for the summer? What's your club team? Where are you working out? How many games are you going to play this summer? And each kid tells me what they're going to do. And if a kid says, I'm just going to work out at home, I said, who are you working out with? And they said, well, nobody. I said, why don't you work out with him? Because if you get 2 or 3 guys in there, you're more apt to not skip.
Accountability.
Yeah, if you're by yourself, it doesn't usually work out very well. And, like I went through that with Will Doherty when he was a junior. He said, I'm with the Tigers. He goes, I'm on the Tigers second team. And I kind of digested that for a second, and I said, Will, why don't you need to go to a different club? Because the first team always gets more scouts at it than the second team. And he goes, are you serious? I said, I'm dead serious. If you're not on that first team, you need to go somewhere else because you're good enough to play on the first team for somebody. And he's still playing D2 for Missouri Southern. I mean, he could really hit. He was an all-state guy for me, and, well, eventually he ended up being on the first team for the Tigers. So it worked out.
Well, but sometimes, Coach, maybe he needed that in his thought process to maybe challenge himself a little bit more as well.
Yeah, and I had that conversation in front of 30 guys.
Right.
So everybody knew what I was saying, and if they tell me they're on some club that I've never heard of, I'll tell them, I don't know that guy, and that's not good. Because I know most of the guys, and I can make a phone call and say, how's, Joe Blow doing? I mean, how's Will doing? How's Joe doing? Whatever, but if I don't know that guy and the level that they're playing at is not, higher, it's not going to do them any good in my program.
Kevin, and I think this is an interesting conversation here because, you coaching at the collegiate level, you're developing relationships with high school coaches and watching kids as they grow. You got your eye on this one, that one. How important is it? It's a similar scenario with a high school coach in the clubs at this point, right?
Yeah, 100%. Again, you're talking to, I almost want to say a one-on-one situation, though. Like, there's a reason Coach Perkins and Francis Howell has this. And for those listening, Francis Howell isn't the only one. There are a number of them across the state, but this is not commonplace. Like, this is the gold standard. This is what, in my opinion, what people should be achieving. And it doesn't happen overnight again. But yeah, relationships are so important. And Coach just went through a number of reasons. And if you're hearing this is why they win every single year. It's not, Brett Norfleet and, Leo Hubbard and Titus Sissel are so great. They are special players. But it's not by accident that they continually get produced out of Francis Howell.
Yeah, the culture thing you mentioned, I told this story sometime. ago, but Coach Ratterman was with my assistant coach for 1 year. He was student teaching, and Case Munson and Gordy Gundaker and Brett Graves and some came by the field, and we just sat around and talked and stuff. And I said, it's pretty cool when the alumni come back and just talk to the kid. I always ask them if they want to talk, and they will. And he said, that's culture. That's your culture you've built. And I hadn't really heard that phrase as much. Now you hear it a lot more. Yeah. You hear that culture word a lot. And I really didn't it kind of took me back. I was like, he's right. It is our culture. And that's what goes on around here. He is right. And made me feel good, but now I'm just running with it as long as I can.
Well, and two, I think that's, as you talk about it, if you're talking about a young coach or even at a smaller school, you can take some of those things, Kevin, right? And look at a Class 4 school that is in say the St. Louis area. If you want to, you're going to have to do some of the other things, but with your baseball guys, where are you playing? What is your goals? You can do some of the similar things, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not a secret. Like, we've talked about how I can guarantee you 4 years from now, as long as Coach McGee's still at Willard, they're going to have a good team in 4 years. I don't even know who those players are going to be, but I can assure you they're going to put a representative product. Now, whether they can make a state, Final Four run together probably depends on the batch of kids. Coach Perkins, 4 years from now, is going to have a good team. I can assure you they're going to be good. Whether they have the type of group that can make a Final Four run, that comes down to town and players, but they're always going to be in the mix. And certainly Liberty North. I'm going to leave out schools, so I don't want to keep naming schools. There are a number of them across where it's not happening by accident. Is the point?
Right.
And this I wanted to bring this one up. Coaches, longevity. I'm the oldest guy, I'm sure, around still coaching. That's because I love it. But a lot of times coaches don't stay with it long enough, and we're losing two outstanding baseball guys, and Eric Goff leaving Zumwalt Western this year, and Justin Tao from Rockbridge is hanging him up too, which that really hurts me because those guys are good baseball people, and we played great games because they're always really good. It's always a little bit different when you get a different guy in, a younger guy, or it's the whole scene is different. And it's hard. I hate to see it when great baseball people get out, but I get it. You got life, and at
some point you're going to do that, right? You're going to hang them up.
Yeah.
Or are they just going to come bury you in the field?
Well, if I see a rotten team coming, peace. Somebody else could deal with those guys.
Oh, mercy. Coach Stiegel last year, right? Mm-hmm. Liberty North. Coach Wilson, as you said. And I think Coach McElliott is pretty close because I think from what I heard, what he said, so.
His son, he's going out with his son, right?
Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what he said, Kevin, right? And
yes. He's a junior, I believe.
Yes. So you got a couple more years there. You've got, and this is where I think it's important to talk about these things. And I think the importance of the clinic, the Coaches Association, to make sure that these guys are getting the information, getting those things. How do you build a program?
If you get a strong guy, administrators should keep him.
Right.
All right. It's tough. I've been really fortunate that my administration has been behind me the whole time, and it's been a fantastic situation for myself. But if you could keep a guy, and you see good things happening, you start winning a few games, win some big games, pulling off some upsets, you're getting into postseason, try and keep that guy, But if you're a 1 or 2 or class 1 or 2 coach, class 3 coach, probably want to be a class 6 coach someday. So they're looking to move up, just like in college or pro game, minor leagues to pro games. Everybody's looking to move up. But once you get a good dude, administrators hold on to them suckers, man. They're valuable.
Yes.
The other part of this too, when you're talking about evaluating talent, evaluating players, and whatnot. What do you do with that with a young coach? How does that process, Kevin, I know you're always looking and evaluating kids. If you got a young coach at a small program and whatnot, what are a couple of keys you would say to help them evaluate a player?
You want me to describe how I would teach someone how to evaluate? Is that what you're looking for here?
Yeah. Because you got a young coach at a small school that has having to deal with, going and watching the football team or the basketball team trying to pull these kids.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I would say there's multiple things that I would look at. There's different types of evaluation. There's evaluating like what I do, where I'm projecting what kids are going to become, where they fit in collegiately or professionally. And then there's an evaluating from, if I put my Coach Perkins hat on and I have that kid in my program, Coach Perkins might know right away as a freshman that this kid, or don't even say Coach Perkins, high school Coach X might know right away this kid is not going to be a collegiate player. I know that, even as a freshman. But I know this kid can help me do X or help the team win, so I think from a high school coach's perspective, I'm evaluating to see how this player can help us win baseball games. Or do I have a kid that is going to play beyond me? And I think that's important to know, too, because I'm going to develop those kids a little bit differently. Treat them the same, but develop them a little bit differently depending on what their path forward is, in my opinion.
Well, I spoke about evaluation. I did that, and I have a form that I fill out, and I don't have the tech that Kevin does. I'm more than just clock guy, handheld, that kind of thing. But I actually have my evaluation sheet on my website. After I spoke, everybody wanted a copy of it, so I just put it on my website. And so I have guys that go on there and they adapt it. It's like 3 or 4 pages of stuff. Because my thought process when we're evaluating is, and I meet with my coaches beforehand and we talk about what, who we think is going to make the team and blah, blah, blah. But if you can get as much information as you possibly can, you cut a kid and you got a parent complaining, you can say, well, he ranked 32 out of 33 in the 40 or 30 or 90 or whatever you want to say, whatever distance, home to first. I mean, to me, the more data you have, the more you can justify what you're doing.
Right.
And that was a big thing for me. I mean, I had problems when I was young, Coach, when I cut a kid. I mean, they didn't like it, and, I'd have to justify why I cut him. I mean, I couldn't just say, he's not as good as the rest of them. They want concrete facts. So I went through this whole thing, and this was, 25 plus years ago I did this, but I put that form together and I fill in as many, and I have freshman team does it, sophomore team does it, varsity team does it, and we go through all that stuff because I tell my younger coaches, if you don't have concrete evidence, you're going to catch some flack, and that ain't going to be good for you.
Yeah.
But if you got that stuff and you can say, hey, this is where this kid sits in the rankings of what we got, and then there's always some intangibles, coachability, effort and those kinds of things. And, you put down what you think there too. So, yeah, I spoke about that and I'm passionate about it if you can't tell. I'm about covering coaches' butts,
Right. Well, and too, because, you look at the situation and that's, Kevin brought up Coach McGee. We've talked to him a few times. I really like Coach McGee, what he does, and we've seen him having a lot of success recently. And he's had some really good players, too.
No
Don't
doubt.
get me wrong. Talent usually helps a lot, right?
I know about that.
It's just kind of the way it is. So
I will say one thing on the evaluation. We'll look at a Coach McGee situation, a Willard, which has a feeder system. He grows up with he helps raise those kids from a baseball standpoint. So he sees those kids from, little guys all the way up. He's not going to miss when it's tryout time. If you're in a program where you don't know any of the kids before they show up and they come to tryouts, it kind of is overwhelming and hard to evaluate Certain kids can have a great round of BP one day and be terrible hitters the rest of the time. You can get lucky, run into a ball. You could have a great outing, but not be that great of a player. The more time you spend with these guys, the more accurate your evaluation is going to be. That happens with me too. It is much easier for me to do my senior class rankings than it is to do my freshman and sophomore rankings, because you don't have as much information. It's harder. It's more of you get what I'm saying. The more information you have, the easier it becomes.
I agree. And that's the thing, that's what we said I love what you said there with Coach McGee. That's the thing that we've talked about. I've had a little bit of this conversation with other coaches here and there with similar processes. And I think this is a good conversation in the sense of, you've got so many teams, and that the baseball is becoming, I think, even better. Every year, I think there's more teams in the mix. There's more opportunities. You're seeing high-level talent in these schools. And so I think as a coach, how do you manage these players? And that's the other thing. This is the last thing I want to touch on right here is then you have personalities.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. But as a coach, though, you need to teach your lower-level guys what to do. I mean, they need to be on the same page as you. You can't just send them off on the backfield and nothing's going on. You don't know what's going on. But if they know what they're supposed to do and they don't do it, that's their fault, and they probably won't be coaching with me very much longer. Most of the guys, buy in. They want to get better. They want to learn how to do things, and they want to move up in the ranks. When I have a guy leave me and go become a head coach somewhere, great, fantastic.
Right.
That should be your goal.
Right.
But you got to teach the younger ones.
It's also, again, we go back to that culture. Right now, Shake Speckert is probably learning from Brady Tanner, who Brady Tanner learned from Titus Sissel. Titus Sissel learned from Jake McCutcheon. And that's when you really get a thing going, is when you get a run of that. And it's best when the players already know and then start policing, and it trickles down. And that's when you really have things rolling. Yeah,
when I brought Shake Speckert up late last year just to go along for the run, and I know his dad, and his dad was saying, he goes, thank you for that opportunity. He got to spend 2 weeks with Titus Sissel, and that really just made him a better player just because of that.
Yeah. I saw that a few years ago, for Zumwalt East, first time they'd got to the Final Four and whatnot. Coach Hill brought a lot of his young guys with him up to that, and I thought it was smart. And he said that I want them to experience this, get this feel of this, trying to build culture in those things. What's the expectation? That's I think the piece of the puzzle here. When you have coaches in that place, you have players in those places, you have to build expectation, or otherwise your personalities, the egos maybe of some of these kids can take over and point the culture in a wrong direction, right?
That's when you cut those guys. It's an easy fix.
Well,
nobody's as good as they think they are.
Well, yeah, I understand, but sometimes it's the talented guys, maybe even, right?
I was at a wedding over the weekend, and I had an ex-player who played for my freshman team, sophomore team. I cut him as a junior and senior. And he was talking about why he got cut, and he said he understood it because he was a troublemaker. He was doing things that I didn't want to have nothing to do with it, and so I just cut him, and he understood it, and he accepted it, and his younger brother played for me, but that's just the way it's got to be. If this kid's got an ego and thinks he's the best player around, you got better take him down a notch in a hurry.
Now, but Kevin, right, Coach? What if you got 13 guys?
Go with 12.
Go with 12. You're still in that boat, right?
12 that want to win.
Okay.
For the team, not themselves.
Right.
That's the key word right there.
There you go. Just slash it.
That's what it is.
I love it. I love it. Well, there you go. Well, there's some coaching 101 for you guys. Managing personalities, you just cut them. If it's on the bad side.
Heck, it's happened on the 10, 11, 12-year-old teams.
It should on some of those.
They have
right?
problems amongst themselves. What happened? The team blows up and they start over.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen. I don't know how many times. I mean, your egos, your personalities, and why is my kid not batting fourth? Why is my kid not playing shortstop? Well, go to another team. It's simple. That's at 10, 11, 12, all the way up.
I love
If you don't
it.
like your situation, better find a better one.
I love it. Coach, that's fun. That's good stuff, man. As always, Kevin, thanks, buddy. Appreciate the conversation. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, please hit the subscribe button. Hit the dinger next to it. Doesn't get you a home run, but it gets you notifications for upcoming episodes such as this. That's what we work toward, to be the most comprehensive youth baseball talk in the Midwest. And these two brought it today. I appreciate the conversation very much, guys. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day in the Lord. Remember, all you pitchers, go ahead, Kevin, give it to them.
Keep throwing strikes.
Hitters, what do you got for them?
Hit them where it ain't.
Exactly. See, you get it from the guru. And how many wins is it now, Coach?
I don't know. A lot.
Well,
more than I've lost.
that's good. You can't even remember how many it is.
I really don't. I'm serious.
Oh, we'll see y'all next time.